Hey everyone, it's Andrew. So this is going to be a video doing a 6-month review on the Casio F91W M, which is the gold version of the F91W, which is this watch right here. I got this about 6 months ago for Christmas in 2021 from my brother as a gift. And throughout the last 6 months, I've worn it probably about 2 to 3 months time period in total. And so I felt like it was appropriate to do a review of this watch now after having it for the past 6 months. What we'll do in this video is we'll discuss both this watch as well as the original black classic F91W. We'll show a side-by-side comparison and close-up of each watch. We'll go over the general features, and then I did want to discuss one issue that I've noticed with the gold version where the resin band seems to squeak and kind of like make a noise, which I've never experienced with the classic F91W. Not sure why it happens, and I'm hoping it goes away with time, but it is one thing that I've noticed with this watch compared to the original. Okay, so here are the two separate watches that I have. On your left-hand side is the Casio F91W M, and this is the -9A edition, which has this gold casing around it, as well as gold kind of lettering within the actual case. It comes in this gold version. There's also a separate version that's like a forest green, as well as a navy blue, as well as a silver version. I only have the gold version, but based on your personal preference or taste, you can order any of these online. On the right hand side, we have the classic F91W, which I had, which is this black version. I've had this for almost 7.5 years, used it on and off throughout that time period. So this is a good example of the longevity and ability of this watch to hold up for wear and tear and potential damage. But we'll go over each one in detail, and then we'll discuss the nuances to the gold version. As far as the actual watch, it's pretty simple in design. It has the Casio label on the top left here on the casing. This F91W on the right top here says it's water resistant. I think it's about 15 meters, but I haven't really tested that. Whenever I wear this watch, I don't really try to get it wet at all. So if I shower, I take it off every time just to avoid any damage to it. On the screen itself, you have the date, so it'll change through each day of the week, as well as on the top right, you'll have the day of the month. And then you'll have the actual time. This is military time, so currently it's 9:14, obviously. And then when you go on the top right here, it'll illuminate it. As you can tell, the illumination is not great. It has this single bulb here, which is this like neon green. It'll only really illuminate the left aspect of the screen. You won't really see the right aspect, which is one drawback to this watch compared to the other versions or options that are out there. But really, I'm not too thrilled about that or whatever, but that is one drawback to this watch, is like the illumination is not great compared to like a Timex T80 or other digital watch. But that's the illumination on the top right here. When you cycle through this bottom left button, it'll cycle through the different options on here. So it has an alarm feature, which you can set for any time, turn that alarm on and off. You have a stopwatch, so if you hit start, it'll start it. You hit stop, and then I believe if you hit if you hit this top left one, it'll reset it. So start, stop, and then reset there, which is the illumination button on the top left. And then right here, it should, this one, it'll cycle through resetting the watch. So once you get to this screen, you hit this top left button here, and then that'll cycle through all the options. So the hours, the minutes, the seconds, the month, which currently is June, the day of the week, as well as the day of the week and the actual Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, day of the week on the top left here. I believe you can cycle through to get military time versus regular time. I just looked and tried to figure that out. I don't really remember how to do that. One of you online might be able to give insight into that. It's something I can always figure out when I'm looking for it, but right now I couldn't figure it out. So that's the general features of the watch. The gold version has this glass casing on the outside here. As you can tell, it might be hard to tell on the screen, but there is one scratch across the middle of the actual watch here. So I must just scuffed it in some versions. So that is one thing that's happened within the past 6 months of use. I've worn this on and off for about probably a total of 2 to 3 months total throughout that time period, but that is some damage, and you can actually feel it. Like when I put my fingernail, it is definitely a scratch in there, so it's nothing that can buff out or anything like that. So it is prone to a certain level of damage. The actual case itself, otherwise the gold hasn't like scratched off or anything, except for this one area here. So there's another scratch mark there. So it is like a plastic, it's not metal casing. So it is prone for a certain level of damage, but to be honest, this watch is like 15-20 bucks, so it's not too bad as far as price. So if you get some sort of damage, it's not terrible. The band itself is like this resin / silicone band. It's pretty standard, nothing too significant. You just wrap it around and it's got this classic clasp on here. And then on the back here, it has 4 separate screws that allows you to take this off and change the battery. I have not had to change the battery yet for this watch. Speaking from experience from the black version, I used this watch for about 7 years, and I think I've changed the battery once, or maybe I haven't even changed it at all. So longevity is great for the overall length of it. So that's pretty nice. Compared to the original black version, I'll say that the gold version is definitely nicer. It's a step up in the quality, and it's not as dorky of a watch. You will get compliments as far as the gold. It's a nicer overall color scheme. It's a little bit more elegant compared to the original. After 7 years of use, though, I will say that the classic original has essentially no damage. There's a little bit of kind of like buff on the couple spots on the actual resin band where there's some stuff, but like, to be honest, after 7 years of use, you wouldn't even know. The interesting fact is though, like this one, or the gold version, already has a scratch, versus when you look at my original one, it doesn't even have a scratch or anything on it. So it's interesting to know that this gold version did get damaged within 2 to 3 months of use, versus this I've used for on and off 7 years and it doesn't have any issues. So for some reason, the quality or the build is more prone to damage with this gold version. So that's an interesting nuance. Otherwise, it's essentially a similar design. When you feel it side by side, I will say that the casing for this gold one seems a little bit cheaper. It is flush, like a little bit higher up. And seems more plasticky, or like a softer plastic compared to this one. Like when you touch this, it's more of like a hard plastic compared to the gold version is like this softer plastic. It definitely feels a little bit cheaper compared to this one. So that might be some difference in the build. So that might be why this is more prone to damage. And then the other thing I'll say is after 6 months or having this for 6 months, the one thing I did notice with this watch, I'll put it on right now, is that the resin band for some reason makes this like creaky noise, which is pretty annoying. I noticed it within the first like 2 to 3 weeks I got it, and I was hoping that after, sorry, it's hard to do this with one hand or like focusing at the, like not focusing at the same time. But as far as putting on, so real quick, putting on the watch is pretty straightforward. You just tighten it, and then you find it whatever is like the right size for you, and then it slides underneath here and it fits pretty well. But what I was saying essentially is after, let me move this so you can see it straight on. After using this for about 2-3 weeks, I noticed that there was a creaking noise. So if you listen closely, for some reason the resin band, when it touches the actual casing, makes like a noise. And it gets pretty annoying. It's like subtle, but compared to the original, I never had that issue. And I thought that over time it would go away, but even after like 2-3 months, it still makes that noise. And it makes this creaking noise, which is a little annoying. Compared to the original, so when I put on the original one, let me do that real quick. Sorry. It doesn't make a noise at all. So there's something about the gold one compared to the original where like the resin band with either rubbing against the edge here makes a creaking, and for some reason you'd think it would go away, but it hasn't yet. It might go away with time, but I'm thinking that just this resin here is hitting the bottom of the case here, and that's making noise. So it's a little annoying to wear and have that compared to the original, which was silent. But the watch so far is holding up. I will say that it's unfortunate that there's a scratch on it already, because it's like the same exact wear and tear that I'm using for the original one. So I think this case is a little bit cheaper compared to the original, but it definitely is a step up as far as having the gold like design and elegance. There is a silver version that's very similar to this. It's basically identical in the silver, and then there's a forest green as well as this dark navy blue version as well. But I anticipate you might run into the same issues as far as quality of build. I don't have those watches, so I can't speak to those. But if any of you have that, please comment below and kind of see if you've experienced that as well. So that's really all I have about the watch. 2 to 3 months use. It has a little bit of wear and tear as far as damage. I definitely like it more compared to the original as far as like the look of it. But I'm worried about the overall construct of it and whether it'll continue to have damage with time. If you have questions, comments, anything like that, please post them below. If you've experienced similar wear issues for this design compared to the original, please post those as well. And thanks for watching, and please subscribe to my channel and like my video. Thanks a lot, and have a good night.